Hello. What I'd like to talk to you about today is benchmarking. Okay, let's talk a little bit about processor speed. And it used to be that every computer used pretty much the same processor back in the early days of the IBM PC. And pretty much the only difference would be at what clock rate or the speed of the actual processor, but the speed and size of the bus, and you read about the bus in Chapter 2. Essentially what the bus is the highway along which data travels between the CPU and the various other devices in your computer. Everything else was the same. It was just a matter of processor speed. And so marketing people got into the habit of saying, well, our processor is running at 16 megahertz, or perhaps it was running at 12 megahertz. And that would be a fairly accurate benchmark of the speed difference. That's long behind us now. You can purchase an Intel i5 dual-core chip running at 2.0 gigahertz, and your question might be, well, is that slower than say a single core chip that's running at 2.5 gigahertz? It's hard to say. And so there's a solution to that. From a business perspective, as a manager, if you're managing an IT department, or if you're simply just an executive who wants to have some understanding about speed so you can talk intelligently with your IT staff, there is a process, and it's called benchmarking. So the idea behind benchmarking is simple. There is a program that you can usually download for free from the internet, or perhaps pay a small fee to use the program, that will test different components of your computer. It will test the processor. It will test the speed at which memory can be accessed. It can test your hard drive speed. It can test your graphics card, and all the things that all together will comprise how fast your computer can operate. It will test all these things strenuously over a decent amount of time, and then when it finishes, it compiles the results. Now, what do you do with these results? You compare them to published results. In fact, the demonstration I'm about to show you, the program, once it completes, it automatically uploads the data to a website, and you see your values, and you can compare them to other computer types. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate some benchmarking. Now, you need to understand that this particular computer that I'm using is a Macintosh. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we have the webcam hooked up to. That's what I've been using. I've been using iMovie to create these videos for you. Okay, so the benchmarks that we'll be running on the Mac will be somewhat different than the benchmark that you might download and install on your own machine. But I'm going to go ahead and do a quick demonstration, show you how it works, run a benchmark, and then explain what it's useful for. Okay, so here we go. What I have loaded is I've downloaded essentially a tryout. This is a benchmark program called Geekbench 3. This is a program that was the tryout is free. You get a few more tests if you go ahead and pay for a full version, but for demonstration purposes this will do just fine. When I launched the program, you see it's already identified the kind of computer I'm using. I'm using a Mac Mini. It has an Intel Core i5 2415M processor running at a clock speed of 2.3 gigahertz. In other words, the clock is sending out a pulse at 2,300,000,000 times per second. I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I'm running this operating system. Now, they do point out that they would really like or prefer for you to be running no other programs at this time. I'll admit, obviously, I'm running QuickTime to record this particular session. So it's not entirely, the speed that I'll get will not be as good as some of the speeds you might see posted for other machines of this type. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and run. What you do is you would download this to get a feel for how your computer compares to other computers that are out there. And I'm just going to click on Run. Well, let me go up here first, and you can see that you can select. If you go here, you can go to Preferences, and you can look at Preferences. I'm actually check for updates. I'm not going to worry about that. So I just downloaded and installed this. It should be up to date. Under Benchmarks, I can say Run Benchmarks here, and I can go and I'm off. Okay, so I've started the benchmarks. I want to get quiet for just a second. The computer itself is actually the fan. I don't know if you can hear it on this microphone, but it's really working the CPU. You can hear the fan coming on and try and keep the computer cool, because as the CPU works harder, it consumes more energy, it consumes more electricity, and as it consumes electricity, it tends to heat up. It's going to be running all kinds of things. It's going to be running graphics. It's going to be doing, now you can't see the graphics, it's running them off in the background. It's doing some PNG graphics compression and then decompression. But what you can use this for, let's say that you're trying to carry on an intelligent conversation with your IT staff, and they come to you and say, well, we want to buy this new computer. You can ask them, well, what are the benchmarks? Okay, and hopefully they'll be able to tell you. They'll say, well, here's the number for the benchmark, and you can compare that to the computers that you have in your possession and say, well, is this really, is this something that it is useful for us? Will we really see much of a benefit? Or perhaps if you're having to make the purchasing decision and you're looking at multiple, excuse me, you're looking at multiple instances of computers, different kinds of computers you're trying to compare, you can read all the marketing speak. They're all going to claim to be among the fastest in the class. And so what you can do is you can go to various websites and look at the benchmarks that have been run for the machines, which can be very useful. Okay, I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this. I'm going to let the benchmark finish, but I'm just going to let it work, and then I'll fast forward through the video a bit, starting now. Okay, so you see that it's finished the benchmark, and what it did was it sent the results, this benchmark program sent the results to a website, and it's showing you on the web at this particular, in fact, you see here 56 or 596678 is apparently a number that's been given to this test, and it's recorded the results, and we see that our multi-core score here is 3131. A single core score is 1530. So what I did was some of the tests were run on just using a single processor, single core on the processor. This particular machine has a dual core processor. It means it has two cores that can run programs simultaneously. Okay, we can scroll down, we can see some information that it had, and here's our integer performance. Okay, again, we'll see that this is not too flashy really, but these are different algorithms, different programs that are run for a period of time to work your computer. So there's actually quite a few there. I'm just scrolling through these. Floating point performance, how well does it work with floating point numbers? And then we get into memory performance here. Okay. So let's go ahead and compare. And well, I've already loaded benchmarks. So again, our value here was a 3131. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and you see here we have values, and of course, remember our previous. I need to remember that value that we got. The score 3131 should be easy to remember. The latest Mac Pro, the new kind of cylindrical top-of-the-line Mac Pro, notice that their score was 28942. So we're talking about what, 9 times as fast as my little Mac Mini. So yes, there are machines out there that will leave me in the dust, and that's fine. Okay, so if I do a scroll, and our score was 3131. It turns out that Let's find it. Actually, right here, this processor, Mac Mini mid 2011, that's my machine. Same computer, they have a recorded test, an average of 4407. And again, if you remember, the benchmark said you really shouldn't have any other programs running, but obviously we do because I've got the video recording, the screen recording going on. So that slowed this down significantly. But if you are considering, for instance, let's say, where's an iMac? Here's an iMac, okay? In fact, if you look at some of the later model machines up here, here's for late 2012. Let's find another iMac. Well, here we go, late 2013. That'd be probably about the most. If this was a machine that you were considering purchasing, you would see here that this particular machine has a score of 10,679. You can roughly estimate that it's approximately 3 times as fast. It's not necessarily a direct correlation between the scores, but it gives you a pretty good idea. Okay, so you say, well, hey, that machine is 3 times as fast. That sounds like a good deal. So anyway, that's benchmarking. Now, let's look at another type of benchmark that you might want to do. This is computer processing speed. Perhaps you're going to be interested in something more along the lines of your network speed. Okay, specifically your internet connection. How fast is your internet? Okay, so I'm going to go to a site, and speedtest.net. Okay, and I'm going to launch it. Okay, and notice that they've realized that this is the wonder of cookies, right? You've been read a little bit about cookies. They saw I was running some Macintosh benchmarks, and so bada bing, bada boom, here we go, and it's showing us an ad. But anyway, here we are. We're going to run the test. Now, the good folks, I'm on Charter Internet. So I'm going to just click on the Begin Test button here. And again, you can do this yourself. It's looking for a server. Okay, first it's going to do a ping. It's just going to see how fast can it send a small packet of data to a server, have it bounced back. And you'd really like for this number to be fairly short. Well, actually here we've got a ping of 59 milliseconds, and that's not real fast. We're doing a download now, and the download speed's actually incredible. 62.87 megabits per second. That is very fast for a home network connection. So I'm going to be bragging a bit. Now it's doing an upload, and you'll notice that the upload speed is slower. Okay, significantly slower. And that's actually okay. Okay, so here's our result. Our download speed, 62.87 megabits per second. That's the fastest I have ever seen here at home. That's really good. Upload speed, 4.3 megabits per second. And I said that was okay. And you may be going, well, you know, why is this number okay if that's a good value here, 62.87? And the reason is you really don't upload a whole lot. Generally speaking, most of your uploads are very small. They're going to be little bits of data that you send out from your computer. It's simply directing a website to send you a large file. And so your ISP, your internet service providers, tend to maximize the throughput. They want you to be able to download things very fast, but upload speed can be slow because you're usually not uploading a lot of things. That's why it does take, if you do things like YouTube videos, it can take a long while for that file to be uploaded to YouTube. Whereas if you're watching a YouTube file, it actually is pretty fast. Okay, so benchmarks, ways to test your computer, and then you can compare. And notice here we have share this result. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to share the result. I'm going to click on that. Here's my result. Web. I can test again here if I want, but I shared it with them. I'm going to click on close. Okay. So there you have it. Benchmarking. Try it sometime.